Last time on Anime Balls Deep.
When Nozelle is stabbed in the back with multiple needles, Pointy then reactivates the magic nullifying spell and makes it bigger. Too big to use the same trick as before. Solid is panicking and Noelle is on the verge of joining her, but she can't give up. Not when her oldest brother and father figure just recognized her for the first time. She struggles to think of a way out, and just when all seems to be lost, she goes Super Saiyan!
And now, so we went over some major points in the story during the last video in the series, and we were so confident that the anime wouldn't catch up anytime soon that the anime got ahead of us. But just a little, it's okay. We're gonna make sure we're so ahead of the anime that it can't possibly catch up. Well, I mean, eventually it will, but we'll be done with the series by then. We might even be done today. We're just gonna have to go really balls deep and jam-pack a ton of content into this video. So if you like the first two videos we did on the topic, I believe you're gonna love this one. Leave us a like and also let us know what else you'd like to see in the comments down below. Alright, now that I got the usual beginning of the video spiel out the way, it's time to cue that intro! Which is my job, so I'll just do that real quick. Edit. Aha! There we go. Just gotta press play and...
You don't fuck with neck, bro.
Anyway, so we left off with Noelle showing off her new Zenkai boot, Valkyrie dress, and showing the enemy who's boss. Before we know it, the pointy-eared foe is out cold and Noelle takes the W. But before she has any time to celebrate, she's faced with a surprise attack. Double Blood plot twist! Zora had already set up a trap there and shot their own magic back at them. Unfortunately, elves can tank their own magic, so it doesn't do a whole lot in the long run. However, it's nothing they can't handle. And luckily, Zora brought along a healer from the Silva house to tend to Noelle's injured siblings. But at the end of the day, they're royals, and he's Zora. So of course he's gonna call them out on their bullcrap. He tears into all three of them, calling out their inability to protect their own family. Noelle tries to stop him, but Nozelle takes these words to heart and patches up his wound himself, standing back up and preparing to continue fighting. One thing leads to another, and they're soon using all their magic in sync with each other, making quite the impressive team. Meanwhile, in the Vermilion house, Kirsch and Mimasa are making quick work of more elves and escorting the people there to safety. Then, in the middle of it all, something unexpected happens. Another elf shows up, but for some reason, doesn't attack. Now, this may not be an unusual bad guy thing, but it's definitely an unusual elf thing. Elves have done nothing but attempt to kill humans on sight since the arc started. So for one to just show up and just wanna talk is just off. He mentions right away that the elves are stronger than humans and recommends they just give up, almost like he doesn't want to admit that they're a bit of a handful to take on. But at the same time, he's clearly confident he could take them all without breaking a sweat, or else he wouldn't be making such a bold move by approaching peacefully. This may not seem like such a big deal, but it shows that elves aren't just mindless human-killing monsters. They do actually think before they act. Anyway, he alludes to the idea that they may be after the king, and thinks of it as their official way of winning this fight. Which, in all honesty, it is, but I mean, would killing him be such a bad thing? Okay, no, God, why would I say that? Of course it would be. I'm sure Tabata has a plan with Augustus. I'm positive that he'll get some kind of Okay, I can't. That's too funny. Him getting developed? He then mentions that some other more powerful elves are on their way to the king's location as he speaks, but they're a bit twisted. He also brings up a specific elf that uses a certain kind of magic, and that magic is the kind that will instantly eradicate anyone and anything in its path. I think we all know who he's talking about. As we all know, and yes, I do mean all, anime-onlys now included, he's talking about the big, bad, not-so-big VOD brother, Langris. Of course, Langris isn't at the wheel right now, otherwise he wouldn't be trying to murderize anyone. Well, besides his own brother, apparently. But this is different. He's willing to kill anyone, including his own parents, as well as anyone who decides it's a good idea to get in his way. So, what does Finral do? He decides it's a good idea to get in Langris's way. Good job, Finral. That's some good thinking there, mate. You're really going places with actions like that. Does it seem like a super dumb idea? Yeah, but someone had to, and he's got 2 captains on his side, so honestly, what could possibly go wrong? Well, lots of things. Lots and lots of terrible, terrible things. But this is a shonen, and he's an important character, so none of those awful things happen, because pull out armor! Just kidding, it's all earned, and Finral and the others make sure to fight hard. In the end, Langris ends up defeated and saved, and the 2 brothers, for once, are in the same space and not fighting verbally or magically. I mean, sure, they're unconscious, but I mean, come on, I'm trying. Elsewhere, Patry flies back to the Midnight Sun hideout and meets up with Raya, as well as Droit and Eklat, who are using Goshen Marie's bodies as vessels for their reincarnation. After some small talk, Raya explains how most of Licht's memories haven't returned, and he's sleeping. But Patry doesn't seem surprised. They then decide to wait for the rest of the elves, and they mention the final magic stone, which is inside the castle. We then see a darkened shot of what looks like Yuno's necklace, and Patry mentions that once they have all the magic stones, the reincarnation will be complete, and they'll be 100% completely revived. Once that happens, they'll be able to use even stronger magic, and their plan is to eradicate all humans and live in peace once again. During all this, we see some familiar faces once again, but they're looking a little different this time around. We see Veto and Fauna breaking out of these experimental cages, now officially reborn in new, younger looking bodies. They have enough of their memories back, and now their minds are even clearer than before, especially Fauna, who mentions that she used to feel half asleep before, like she was having a nightmare, referring to when she used to have so much pent-up hatred and would talk all scary-like. But a new appearance and a clearer head aren't all that's changed. She's now no longer contracted with Salamander, which we all know is now with Captain Fuegoleon Vermilion. Still, she's strong enough to go toe-to-toe with any of the Magic Knights, elemental spirit at her side or not. Meanwhile, almost all the elves needed are waiting on top of the hideout in position for the complete reincarnation. The only one they need now is Yuno, and his magic stone, of course. They then declare that they're going to use the power of Gravito Rock to unseal what's been hidden in Clover Castle and open the path to the underworld. Suddenly, a giant ball of dark, ominous energy starts forming. The one elf that acted strangely from before explains that long ago, the ancient elves formed a pact with humans and had them safeguard the magical space that connects their world and the underworld. They call it the Kingdom of Shadows. Only the 10 elves, the followers of Sephiroth, who have been given divine revelation from their god, can open this path. Once the final magic stone is in place, the reincarnation can be completed, and the original souls of those bodies will be sent there. Kirch and Mimosa won't stand for this, and they try picking a fight, but this dude's just like, I'ma head out, and skedaddles on out of there. Before Yami and Jack can even really wonder what the heck they're looking at, elf reinforcements show up to take them out, when suddenly, a giant raging bull attacks! It's none other than the other Black Bulls. They've come to the aid of their teammates. After a fun little reunion, the elves get even more fired up and charge! Luckily, Luck is around and has the ability to sense what magic types the elves have with his perception, and as such, with Gray's magic conversion ability, the bulls are able to counter all of it. And if that weren't strong enough, they also have Vanessa's red thread of fate to protect them from harm's way. With the bulls constantly recovering their magic with Charmy's food, Henry's able to absorb all he needs to keep controlling the base as long as they need him to. They've formulated the ultimate defense! Before they know it, they've won the battle, and things start looking up. Until she appears. Dorothy Unsworth was possessed by an elf as well, and now we can finally see what her magic can really do. Of course, this isn't the context we were all expecting, but it's still nice nonetheless. Anyway, all she does is open her eyes, and suddenly the base quite literally starts disappearing. The magic of it isn't, but the base itself? Gone. She also takes away Vanessa, Magna, Lux, Sally, and Charmy. With that, the bulls' defenses and their perfect strategy is completely gone. And now, the elves can attack. And of course, they waste no time. Droid summons mirrors surrounding the bulls, and Patry uses his light magic to reflect off of each mirror until hitting them becomes unavoidable. Now, I know they're evil and all that great stuff, but that's some pretty smart teamwork. Clap, clap, you guys. Great job. So, it turns out that all the others have been taken to a whole new world. A dream world, so to speak. A place where Dorothy controls everything. Which is fine when Dorothy actually controls everything. But Dorothy isn't in the driver's seat anymore. Dorothy's dream world is a place where imagination is key, and the impossible is always possible. If Dorothy wishes it, of course. This obviously means she can send at them whatever she wants to try to kill them. The most unimaginable creatures, things you dream up, those things are now trying to eradicate our protagonists. In a world where the enemy makes the rules, how are the good guys supposed to stand a chance? Well, fortunately, Dorothy cannot control them, just everything around them. So Vanessa's magic is still in effect. Sally, being the magic nerd she is, geeks out over all the broken magic around her and starts analyzing it completely. And Sally is really good at analysis. She's a scientist, so she kinda has to be, but she's debatably better than all of us over here at ABD. She wants to go balls deep into everything there is to know about Vanessa and Dorothy's magic. Even Charmy's methods of magic recovery still work, and Dorothy soon realizes she's going to have a tougher time taking these people down than she initially expected. Magna and Luck soon come to the conclusion that if they take down Dorothy, the spell will be undone. Duh! But they eventually realize that they're kind of equally matched. The bulls have absolute evasion, but so does Dorothy, as she can make whatever she wants to block any kind of attack thrown her way. But one thing you need to remember about the dream world is that everything Dorothy imagines becomes real, which includes normal elements like earth and water. Sally bets on this and gets Luck and Magna to electrocute and explode the waves of water they were drowning in. This also confirmed Sally's theory and revealed a bit more about how Dorothy's magic works to us. But alas, a small victory is sometimes short-lived, as we also discover a new effect Dorothy's magic has on anyone trapped in it. Before we know it, Charmy starts drifting off to sleep, and soon everyone else begins to feel the same way. It turns out that anyone who falls asleep in the dream world never wakes up again. This seems to be Dorothy's trump card, and what truly makes her such a broken character. Death that is totally unavoidable and extremely difficult to escape, but not impossible. Sally tests out another theory by making Dorothy think of glasses. As expected, glasses appear. So she then makes her think of this world's exit, and it worked! In fact, she makes multiple exits, tons of them. All they have to do is make it through a door, and then the playing field is even. But they're still in Dorothy's territory, and she won't let them leave so easily. She starts chaining and blocking off the exits. They once again have no way of escape. So Luck gets to thinking and comes up with a new plan! First, Magna throws up a timed explosive fireball, and then they use Charmy's cotton magic and Vanessa's thread to make a fake Dorothy. They're not trying to convince her it's real or anything, but they do want her to think up the real Dorothy. And so she does! The real genuine article appears in front of her, and finally opens her eyes. She actually does that! And with the reveal of her eyes, also comes the reveal of her personality. And boy, has she got a lot of it. She's the most charismatic character in the whole show, practically. Anyway, the elf imposter tries to take Dorothy down too, but quickly finds out she can't, because this is now her dream world as well. They both make the rules. We also discover that the real Dorothy's imagination is much broader than the fakes, and before we know it, it's an all-out dream fight, a clash of fantasy, where anything and everything goes. Of course, in the end, the real ones always come out on top. Dorothy lets the bulls out, and they're now on a fair battlefield, but they waste no time celebrating. Instead, Magna and Luck go for a combo spell, like the one they used against Veto, and take the imposter out. Then, as he likes to do, Tabata takes us back in time before all this, where we see Asta and his friends taking on Droid and Eklat. Henry warns everyone to get away from him, because now he's absorbing their magic with no means for them to recover it. Again, their perfect strategy has now been destroyed. Noelle's Valkyrie dress is also dispelled, as it seems she can't handle using it for lengthy periods of time. Things are looking down, and everyone's a bit weaker than they'd like to admit, but this is one of those times where they just need to surpass their limits. But Droid and Eklat aren't willing to just let them, and so they use some combo magic of their own, combining Droid's mirror magic and Eklat's eye magic so that Eklat's spell will reflect across every mirror until it's right in front of everyone's face. Suddenly, a new spell is activated called Reflect Iris. Suddenly, no one can move their bodies or use their magic. Can we just talk about how broken that is? It's like if you combine Shikamaru's Shadow Possession and Aizawa's Eraser all just by looking at you. And on top of that, she doesn't even have a grimoire yet. Just when all seems lost and they're about to be killed, Asta's new sword kicks in and starts emitting anti-magic around them. This cancels out Eklat's spell, allowing them to move and use their magic freely. Droid also recognizes the sword, and we finally get a name for it. It's officially called the Demon Destroyer Sword! Droid is enraged that Asta is in possession of it, and he still believes it's Licht's, and fires off a reflect ray in an attempt to kill him so he could retrieve it. But Gray jumps in with her magic conversion and creates another mirror using Gordon's poison magic, so that his reflection path is ruined. But it still makes its way to Asta, who thankfully had enough time to block it with his Demon Slayer sword, and hit it straight back at him. Asta then explains that Droid isn't much different from Gauche, as he's still trying to kill Asta randomly and aggressively, and he's still being rude and disrespectful to everyone. Essentially, nothing has changed. He's pretty much going to be the exact same when he comes back, so they want to complain to him in person afterwards. Suddenly, more mirrors appear, even one underneath Asta. It starts to float until suddenly he's up in the air with no support. Droid then starts bouncing him up higher and higher with other mirrors, until he's surrounded in mid-air. Droid was trying to separate him from the rest because he knows Asta is the most dangerous due to his magic cancellation. Eklat then uses her magic once again on all the mirrors surrounding him in an attempt to get him to look at her, but he refuses. Droid then shoots a reflect ray right at him, thinking that he can't avoid magic blasts and keep his eyes closed. But what he doesn't know is that Asta can read ki! However, multiple rays are a different story. Simple ki detection won't protect him from that. With multiple rays coming his way, Henry suddenly gets the idea to use some of the broken base parts to protect him. This gives him just enough time to use his black form to cancel out Droid's magic all at once. He then uses its special ability to hone in on mana, allowing him to shatter every mirror in his path. He charges towards Droid, but that's just what he was hoping for. Droid then reveals his magic eye, and Asta looks directly into it. Eklat was using her magic to reflect into Droid's eye, and now Asta is under her spell again. Suddenly, a giant mirror shows up directly above Asta, and he can't evade. Just when it seems to be game over, Gordon shoots out a pool of poison above Asta, and Gray changes it into a giant mess of a mirror. This stops the magic from harming anyone, and Asta is safe for the time being. Henry suddenly gets a rush of determination, saying no matter what happens to me, I will save Ghost! We then suddenly get a flashback explaining more of Henry's past, and how neither his parents or anyone else around him accepted him. They didn't know how, and so they gave up without really trying. He was given a house with a reserve of mana for him to absorb, so as to keep victims and ultimately casualties to an absolute minimum. In other words, Henry was essentially already dead. He had no one but himself. No one cared about him but himself, and even then he was struggling to. Until everyone else came, he lived a sad, lonely existence. Fast forward to the present, and Henry's belief is that his life was given to him by everyone in the Bulls, and so he doesn't care what it's going to take to protect them. He'll even give his life if he has to. Asta's still in a sticky situation though, as Droid already knows how his black form works at this point, and since he understands its ins and outs, he already knows how to stop it. Since it hones in on powerful mana and severs it, all Droid has to do is surround them all with magic, and Asta will go chasing after it, leaving him flying in circles. Before he can even worry about that, however, Eklat activates her eye magic again, and everyone is forced to close their eyes. Henry tells everyone to get inside a portion of the base so they can remain safe. Asta's black form is receded, and he's already done it twice, so if he attempts it again, he knows it'll run out halfway through. What are they gonna do? Well, there's always a solution. Gray gets an idea to turn the portion of the base into mirror magic, so that Droid's attacks won't affect them. However, they also can't attack him either, because all he has to do is create mirrors to bounce them in whatever direction he chooses. Suddenly, Droid exposes a weakness their plan has. He notices there's a spot at the bottom spewing mana, and there's no way it could be made of mirrors as well. He decides to use that to his advantage and shoots it. Henry knows the distance is too close to evade, so he does the only thing he knows to do. He jumps. He takes the blow all on his own. He's really kind of the only one that could, because instead of getting hurt, he just absorbs the mana from the attack, as well as the rest of Droid's mana. But I mean, come on, he's not going to be able to take it all. It's too big.
That's a what she said.
Henry knows this is the end for him, and he's content with it. He feels that fighting alongside his friends, the only real family he ever had, is enough for him, and he thinks that with the opening his death will create, it'll be enough for them to beat him. But Asta won't have that. He demands that Henry lives and won't let him die. We then see a flashback of Asta and Henry meeting for the first time, and how Henry said he'd leave the base one day on his own. Asta said he'd look forward to it, and the two created a bond of friendship. This reminds Henry that he really does want to live with his friends. He doesn't want to leave them. Gordon then uses his magic to engulf droids, and Gray converts it into cotton to cushion Henry's fall. Along the way, Asta uses his Demon Destroyer sword to rid Goshen Marie of the reincarnation spell. My apologies, folks, but I think that's where we're gonna end things for now, and I know this is barely ahead of the anime, but part 4 will come out very soon, and we're hoping to finish things up then. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big ol' thumbs up and let us know what you're thinking of the Elf Arc so far, as well as what else you'd like to see us do. Also, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a notification, cause you need that balls deep content. Anyway, with all that being said, y'all are awesome, but I gotta go, so I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!